Hello, welcome to the Engineer's Box. Now today, I've got something that I've been talking about on Twitter for a little while. Now this is just a few little additions to vanilla, just to help you along, give you some little bit of difference. So why don't we head over into this testing lab I have over here. Now as you notice, we're actually in the Engineer's Box world, which is only the second time we've done this on the channel. So I think I'm gonna make this a little more regular now, but yeah. So it's just a massive cabin at the moment. I got a glass floor just so I can space out everything pretty much. So what I've got for you today is a couple of things. First of all is these cool little block pressure plates. Then we've got liquid tanks and a little chisel, which is pretty cool. So let's take a look at these little pressure plates over here. So these command blocks over here, each one of these lines is just for a single block over here. Now the reason they're so long, now I know you can do them with such a tiny amount of command blocks, a hell of a lot less than this, but the reason I've done it with this many commands is because of the functionality of it. Now the thing about it is that having it like this means that it's recognizing that a player is constantly standing on it. You don't have any of these weird glitches or anything like that where it's constantly bobbing up and down, resetting itself, and it also forms with the timings too. So it keeps timings constant, things like that, and it means that any output that you draw from these will not be changeable in any way. It's always going to be constant, which is quite nice, which I've noticed, which is something interesting about other commands. Now, I haven't looked at all of them, granted, but a lot of them I've noticed have slightly, let's call them intolerable outputs, where when you cause an update to it, so in this case stepping on it, if you hold it for too long, then it might cause it to reset the output again, which is a little bit odd, but these ones don't do that, which is nice. So each one of these lines along here is for a single one of those. Now the reason I've got two is because of in here, and then this third line is just testing for both of them, so we can have a little cool output for this. So if we explore this little cave, looks pretty cool. Just built it up in my spare time. See, we've got these two little, what seem like pressure plates, and this stool here, pedestal. So if we step on one of these, nothing happens. What about the second one? Nothing really happens. But if we step on both of them, look at that, diamond block, wing. And it works every way too, so it's not just one unidirectional, it's bidirectional, so you can have it in any order. Or you can specify order too with these. When you're taking output with them, you can specify the order in which they have to be pressed, things like that too, which is really cool. So yeah, that's actually pretty simple, and all the command blocks use are just these two here. These are the two commands. Basically what we've got is we're just setting down a specific armor stand with an item on its head and a couple of tags. So in this case, yep, just giving it a specific name and pressure too. So basically, each time you want to add a new one of these, basically, this one's more for map makers, things like that, and absolute things. But it's still quite useful in that. So every time you want to create a new one, you just place one of these blocks down, and pretty much then you just put down another line of these blocks here. I can make a compacted version if you'd like, so it's only very short. It won't be as reliable, but it still will be quite reliable. But basically just adding another line of these and then changing all the pressure 2 to pressure 3 or whatever the entity name is, pretty much. So yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty easy to use, not too hard. And I'll leave those commands up on the website along with everything else from this video you can find up there. So let's take a look at these little tanks here. You can see they're kind of three-dimensional in nature, which is pretty cool. This is actually just a custom model. Now you don't need this custom model for it. It's actually just adds this little base plate and a slightly better 3D texture to it. Otherwise it just looks like a glass block, which is normal. So you don't need this custom model, but the resource pack will be up if you want to use it. It just makes it look a little bit nicer. So if we break this, we can see this little item drops. So if we move all of these blocks out of the way, why don't we get ourselves some water buckets, say 3 of those, then we'll get 4 of the lava buckets, I think. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's place down 2 tanks. Let's fill this one with water. So we just drop it on top, And we can see that tank fill is going up over there. You can see now it's actually got 3 buckets in here now, and you can have a total of 15 in each of these, which is pretty nice. I thought that was quite nice, a difference to the cauldron, in that it holds a lot more water, and also it can hold lava as well, which is nice. So if we toss the lava over here, we can see that it's going in. And yes, it does have an animated texture, and no, you don't need a resource pack for that animated texture, which is pretty cool. Yeah, you will need the resource pack if you wanted that animated texture, actually. Just because of the way liquids work in Minecraft, they're a bit odd. But yeah, so we can see we've got these buckets, so we can get them back if we want. Just toss them on top. Yep, we can get our buckets back. Boop, get them all back. And works well. Also, something interesting to notice is that you can actually store multiple liquids inside of one tank. So if we fill this one up with water over here, over there. So this has got 3 in it. So now if you fill it up with 4 lava over here, you can see that it says there's only lava in there, but if we toss these onto it, you can see that it actually gives us all of them back. So that's interesting too. It's multi-liquid, so you can store 2 liquids in it at once, which I think is quite cool. It doesn't have to be this way, but I figured with the current state of liquids in Minecraft and how they're really painful, this is a really good thing to have. But in the future, when I update this, these will be expandable, so you can make big tanks out of these. And then that multi-liquid will become a non-existent feature anymore, purely because of the fact that you can make larger tanks now, which kind of makes that feature redundant. So let's just break these, and I'll just get rid of all of these. So these ones it's not too bad of the commands to deal with. Basically all we've got is a bunch of scoreboard objectives, just so when you're placing it down, it's actually just a custom spawn egg. It's just a spawn egg with a rabbit in it, the same way as I do all my custom blocks in this. Because it's reliable, it's easy to use, and it only requires 1 command for that, which is actually quite nice. But yeah, so basically we're just testing for the fact that that has spawned. You can see down here that we've got this item down, so then once that happens, pretty much we're just killing off that entity. And then from there we decide, so we place the block, and then from there, basically when you drop you've got 2 different objectives. So if we take a look at the objectives here, we've got lava bucket and water bucket, tank fill 2, empty, empty 2, empty bucket 2, and empty bucket. Those are the only objectives you have. So 3 for each liquid, which I think is pretty decent. It's minimal. I tried to keep it as small as possible. I couldn't get it down to like 2 or less, unfortunately, but that's okay. I figured 3 is okay. That's manageable. Basically, yeah. So basically, every time that you drop so actually, why don't we just go through the command? So in terms of lava bucket, this just here is executing at that armor stand at a tank. So it has an armor stand for the tank, and then it's just giving a tag of giving a value to lava bucket if a lava bucket is near it, and then basically if we find that armor stand with that tag, then we're executing it there, and then we're executing at the item, and then from the item at the nearest tank, and then from there basically we're just adding a value to tank, in this case tank fill 2, which is represented with lava, and then we're just killing off the lava bucket item and then just giving a bucket back to the player. Pretty simple. You notice actually the reason I don't summon an item on the top is because of this system. It will actually just put the liquid back in, so it kind of defeats the purpose, which is a little bit annoying, but that's alright. And also if we're getting liquids out, basically just testing for an item near it, an empty bucket, and then giving a value to empty bucket, the empty bucket objective, empty bucket 2 in this case, and then tank fill 2, we're just taking 1 away, which means it decreases the animation by 1, and then just changing empty 2, which is the objective, to know that okay, now we got to take something away from it, and then deleting the item. Pretty simple, not too hard. That works the same for water too. And the same down here, this is just the placing the block, and if you've watched my custom block, you know how that works. It's just testing for the entity and then placing it at the entity. But you can also customize what block it is this tank represents, so you can have it not glass, you can have it maybe stone, you can have it, I don't know, stained glass, you can have it a cauldron, whatever you want really. It's up to you. Yeah, so that's pretty simple, pretty easy to use. Not much in it. Pretty simple command blocks. That's it. So I'll stick that. In fact, I'll stick this into a one command, and when I get some more time, because currently I'm studying, I'll stick it into functions as well. So you'll have an option to choose from which one you want. So that'll be in little ways in the future at the moment. But anyway, so let's move on. Let's go to the chisel over here. So what we've got here is basically just a feather, which has got a custom name on it, chisel, and then basically the item is retextured based off the name chisel. So as you can see, feather is not actually retextured, but because of the name, it does retexture the item, which is pretty cool. It just uses LOC names. Basically, use a bit of a dot properties files with texture pack, so that when it has that name, it finds that name, LOC name, chisel, and then replace it with the texture. Pretty simple, not hard to do. Resource pack, also this will be part of the resource pack if you want to use it, which is cool, so you can just do whatever you want with it, I don't mind. Basically, all we're doing is checking, we're just removing the tag chisel. Now we do that before we add the tag to a player, so that it's constantly removing it, so that once you're using it, basically it just detects when it's in your offhand. So now it's just, it's constantly giving a value of 1 as an active, so you're using it, and then when you release it, it just sets it back to 0, which is what the constantly recurring block at the start is. And we also have the other one. Pretty simple, pretty easy. And then basically what we've got is we've just got a bunch of combinations for each of these blocks here. So yes, it does work with sideways, or these weird sideways facing blocks and stuff like that, as well as the upward facing ones, which is good. And these are all the command blocks for it. I'll go over them in a second. But if we stick this in our offhand and we start walking over, you can see it turns it into those like bark blocks. And it works for all of these. So that works. All of those turn into the bark blocks. Also for these slabs. So if we walk over all of these, you can see that they turn into their respective slabs, which is pretty cool. So if we take a look at command blocks now, all we've got is basically we're just testing for the fact that you have the tag chisel, and then from there detecting underneath you a stone slab, and then if it is and you have the tag, then it just changes it to the original, changes it to the different block. And that's pretty much it, and that works for all the rest of them. And these ones are just, the ones without signs on them are just all the variants, so these ones over here, the sideways variants, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, pretty easy to use. These are quite simple creation. I just want to keep something small and versatile for people to use, so that, especially with maps and things like that, or even like the chisel thing and the tanks for survival, they work really great. In fact, I'm using those for, I'm planning to use those if I ever make it like my own mod pack, and once I finish the IC2 mod pack, then I might make my own mod pack and use these in here. Maybe by then we'll have some different things. Who knows? But anyway, pretty simple. Not much to it today. But these are really cool, really useful. This one's more centered towards map makers, although you can use it in survival. But also, these have their respective crafting recipes, which are just dropping items on the ground. So in the case of the chisel, it's just a stick and iron, drop it on the ground. And in the case of the tank, it's just 4 stone slabs and what is it? 1, 2, 4, and 4 glass for one tank. So it's not expensive. They're pretty cheap. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy this today. And as always, I'll leave those resource packs and things on my website, and I'll leave the link to the website in the description, so you can go ahead, download them, have fun, do whatever you want. Yeah, you know the drill. Alrighty, so as always, I'll catch you guys in the nearest of futures.